So today, our topic is mindfulness, calmness and clarity in facing uncertainty. All right, before we start, let us contemplate on what makes this event possible. So in Buddhism, everything happens because of a set of appropriate cause and conditions. Similarly, for this to be possible, we consider the good cause and conditions that are present. First of all is the desire to learn. Shifu received a request to teach here. That is the seed, the germination of this event. And I'm happy to be back. That's part of the condition. So the desire to learn, to hear the Dharma is very important. And somebody who requests the teaching is important. All of us face challenges in life. When we encounter these challenges, we do not throw our hands up in the air and say, I give up. But you say, I want to overcome the challenge. Then you might need to learn something new. You might need to change some old habits. The desire to learn is what makes you grow. Yeah? So Shifu also has the desire to come back here to the Bay Area to see old friends. That is also important, right? And right now, Shifu has more flexibility of schedule, how I control my schedule. So we can make that happen. But that's not always the case. In the past, Shifu has been in the Bay Area for almost 20 years. In the past, I have received a request to teach the Dharma, the Buddhist teaching, in other places like Japan, like Italy, like Indonesia, Philippines, Singapore, but I wasn't able to go because of certain conditions. Right now, I have more flexibility, so that will be possible, right? So just two things coming together is crucial. But there's more. Today, Shifu speaks, and you can hear. You have to thank your ears. You have ears to hear. That's important. When was the last time you thanked your ears? You use them every day of your life. Maybe never thank them. And a sound mind that you can comprehend, that is important, right? In our life, we may not always have sound mind. So while you still do, cherish that. Be thankful. And another thing we should be aware is to thank the three jewels. The three jewels are the Buddha, the Dharma, which is what the Buddha taught, the Sangha, the monastic community that preserved the Buddha's teaching, that preserved the Dharma throughout the ages. So today we can still hear the teaching, still learn. And it is amazing that thousands of years ago, what Buddha has discovered, the wisdom that he had, is still very useful today. Like the topic mindfulness, which is a crucial part of what Buddha taught. Buddha taught many other things, but today we focus on mindfulness. That thing, this teaching, is ever so relevant today. Especially, it seems that we are facing more and more uncertainty in our life, in this world right now. I want to thank the three jewels. Of course, we also want to thank the volunteers and supporters that make this event possible. So a small group of volunteers have been working on this event for quite a few number of weeks, putting a lot of hours, rented a place, and so on and so on. So let's be thankful. And finally, let us listen attentively, mindfully, so we can all learn some of that Buddha's wisdom today. Okay, so uncertainty. Everybody faces different kinds of uncertainty at different periods of your life. What are the common reactions when we are facing uncertainties, facing challenges, things we have not encountered before? Yeah? Like I just found out the other day, the gasoline prices are at least twice as much as I remember. So we worry. People worry. Yeah? What may happen next? What do? We worry. People get frustrated. Why is this happening right now? What does it have to happen? What does it have to happen to me? We may have fear sometimes. What's going to happen next? We may be fearful. What if things get worse? And anxiousness. We get anxious. What if I can't cope with it? What if I don't know how to deal with it? Right? So these are some of the common emotions that we may have. And surely you have experienced some of them too. So in order to deal with the situation, deal with the problem, Buddha taught us always analyze the problem first. Let us try to understand the problem. So let's try to understand uncertainty. So according to Shifu's analysis, which I borrowed from the Buddha, there are three key aspects to uncertainty. The first is impermanence. Impermanence in life. Now, is impermanence part of life? Of course, it is. What is impermanent? Everything is impermanent. Name one thing that is not impermanent. Maybe the sun? The sun comes and goes and comes and goes forever? No, it won't do that forever. One day the sun will burn up its energy. Nothing is permanent. Well, if it's part of life, if it is everywhere, how do we deal with it? Well, the fact is a lot of times we don't. We ignore them. We ignore them until they hit us. and then we get surprised. How could this happen? How could this happen? How could the gasoline prices be going up 100%? Yeah? How could inflation hit us for so long? How could the conflicts and violence in this world keep escalating? Well, if we look into it, we will find that the seeds of these changes have already been around for a long time, right? So we understand, we know impermanence, but we don't contemplate on that deeply. Buddha asked his disciple, how long can you be sure that you will live? The first couple of disciples answered incorrectly. One said, oh, I'm still young, I probably have another 30 years. Buddha says no. And another said, well, maybe a few days, I don't feel sick. At least I can be sure of a few days, right? No. Finally, one disciple got it right. He said, Buddha, I can only be sure that I will live through this breath, this one single breath. Is that correct? Yeah. Is that pessimistic? No, it's not pessimistic. It's just a statement of fact. We don't have to look at this as pessimistic, but we do need to understand this can happen anytime. Not so that we live in fear, but so that we learn to deal with it. We deal with it with calmness and clarity. So we need to pay attention. We need to reflect on the impermanence in life. Another aspect is incomplete control. What kind of things in life that you deal with will you have complete control? Anything? Anything that you have, that you deal with, that you face, you can say I have 100% control? If you think about this, the answer will be what? Nothing. Nothing. Well, that is another fact of life. Now, is that pessimistic? It doesn't have to be. You choose whether you want to look at this fact of life pessimistically or proactively. Do you want to look at it as a guide to how you live your life? Or do you want to look at it as something that is a dooming thing, that a shadow that's always casting over you? No, we don't have to look at it that way. The reality is nothing in our life we have complete control. Well, we do have some factors that we can change. Some conditions we can change. Identify those conditions where you can change and do your best. And accept those conditions that you cannot change. So yes, you deal with it and not get emotional about it. So incomplete control, we also need to reflect on that. The third aspect of uncertainty is due to interdependence, the interdependent nature of everything in life. What do I mean by interdependence? How one thing affects another. In your life, What affects you? Well, everything you come into contact affect you, right? In a large or small way. Some affect you just a little bit. And then an hour later, doesn't matter anymore. But something affect you for the rest of your life. There may be an incident. I'm talking about both positive and negative. Something that you may remember. Something happened in a split second and then you remember for the rest of your life. Now, when that happens, that becomes a very important lesson for you. What can you get out of that experience? The wise person will be able to extract as much insight from it as possible. An unwise person, an ignorant person would let the same thing happen over and over without learning much. So interdependence, that's a big subject, so we will have to talk about it more in the future. But everybody affects everybody, right? We are in a global society. Everything you use in one single day probably come from 100 different countries. That's interdependence. And then when countries are in conflict, then everybody gets affected from in both countries. Isn't that right? Yeah? So it's very important. We look into the interdependence in our life and let us not do foolish things. Let us deal with our effects, influences, the people that makes a difference in my life with wisdom, with gratitude, with kindness, trying to bring benefit to them. Okay, so impermanence, incomplete control, and interdependence together, they are not unrelated, are they? They're completely related to each other, and together they create uncertainties in life. And because impermanence, incomplete control, because impermanence and interdependence are effects of life. That's why we have incomplete control. And that's why we will always have uncertainty. So because they are part of life, part of everybody's life, let us not deal with it with fear or frustration. Let us learn to deal with it with confidence, with understanding, with calmness and clarity. So how do we do that? Now that we have an understanding of uncertainty, we understand that you cannot get rid of it. They just don't go away. Yeah, no matter you are 6-year-old or 60 years old or 90 years old, uncertainty still is part of life. So the sooner we learn to deal with uncertainties in life, it may be that you're going to middle school or high school and you have some anxiety over that. You may be taking on a new job. You may be moving to another country or another town. You may be ending a relationship. You may be looking at the world and wondering what's going to happen in the next 10 years. Let's learn to deal with it. So when we try to deal with the problem, in general, there are two approaches. One is find a specific solution that deal with that problem. For example, you have a headache. Okay, so I take a painkiller That's one way to deal with it. Yeah, I have a toothache. I go see a dentist. Okay, that is a specific solution. Yeah, you have an employee that's being sleeping on his job, and he doesn't change, you fire him. Okay, that's a specific solution, which can be very effective, which can be very useful. There's another approach called general principles. Finding general principles to deal with a range of situations. So specific solution can be very effective and useful, and sometimes it requires expertise in that particular field, right? You have a problem with your tooth. You gotta find a well-trained dentist. You don't just go ask your grandma. Or maybe you can. Maybe she's a dentist. So that has its position in solving problems. But today, Shifu want to focus more on general principles that can help us deal with all kinds of uncertainty, because there are many hundreds, thousands of types of uncertainty, right? So, and that's Buddha's approach also. Buddha tend to look at how can I generalize this problem and find a general solution, so that when I know how to deal with one case, I know how to deal with 100 cases. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah? That would be nice. So we need to look at the root cause of the problem. And that's why our earlier analysis of impermanence, interdependence, incomplete control are important. They point to the root. So find the root cause. Not just, for example, there's a ad for when you have a back pain. You take a pill and your back pain goes away. Is that a root solution? No, it just deadens your nerves there for a few hours, which doesn't solve the problem at all. I was shocked that this kind of thing, people actually take it. Of course, sometimes you have to, right, to get you through. But then you want to look at, why does your back have pain? What kind of signal? What is it from? Where is it from, right? You want to look at the reason that caused it, not just kill the symptom. So, and general solutions tend not to be so fast. They tend to not work so fast. They tend not to give you immediate relief, but because it involves changing your habit, changing your perception, changing how you look at things, all right? So if we're used to look at uncertainties or troubles with frustration, with complaints, that is a habit. That is a reaction that we have developed over the years, observing that's how many people react. But then that doesn't really help. So we may need to change our long-term habits. Okay? In order to change our long-term habit, we need to have a better understanding. What habits are not useful for us? What habits are useful? What kind of perception, what kind of point of view? How do I look at this? Let's say you are a school teacher, and there's a kid that's like the troublemaker. Always very curious, always wreak some havoc, right? Always cause disturbances. Now, as a teacher, you can look at this kid as a troublemaker, someone that gives you frustration. Or you can look at this kid as somebody who help you grow as a teacher in dealing with difficult cases. The kid may be the key to you become an expert teacher, right? So that's a different perspective. Change your point of view. Change how you look at things. So general principles, if they work, they tend to have far-reaching effects, meaning that you don't just deal with this pain, this trouble, this case. You're able to use the same kind of tactics, same kind of methods, same kind of reasoning to deal with a whole range of situations, even across different fields. Okay? All right. So they can bring you insight across different fields, different disciplines. Okay. So we'll be looking at general principles that can help us deal with the issue. Now, Shifu already gave the answer, which is mindfulness, using mindfulness to deal with uncertainty. But let's talk a little more about that. A little while ago, Shifu gave a talk called Knowing, Consciousness, Awareness, and Mindfulness. It's available on Shifu's YouTube channel. How many people watched that? About half. Good. That means the other half will have a chance to watch that video. All right. So in it, Shifu explained a little more about the knowing aspect of the mind and the consciousness aspect of the mind, which would be good to complement today's talk. But you don't have to, if you haven't watched it, perfectly fine. But if you watch it, you will have an enhanced understanding of today's talk as well. And we touched on mindfulness in that talk. Today we'll elaborate more on what mindfulness is about. So these two talks, different topics, but they complement each other. So qualities of mindfulness. Now mindfulness has become a very popular word, right? Probably in the last 10, 15 years. Everybody has heard of that word and everybody think of it as a good thing. It is. But not too many people have a deeper understanding of what it's about. So let's try to do that today. One aspect of mindfulness is being present or being the present moment. Now you also have heard of that, right? That's also a pretty cool thing. Being the present moment. Stay in the present, being present, right? What does that mean? Sounds easy, but actually it is something that we need to practice. So we'll go into that. So one aspect is being present. Another aspect is calmness. The mind should be calm. If the mind is not calm, if the mind is agitated, if you're really emotional, it's very unlikely that you can be mindful of the situation, that you can clearly observe, clearly understand the situation. So calmness, we'll learn how to develop calmness. And clarity, that is also a very important part of mindfulness. So when you're being mindful, there should be clarity of mind. Now we'll take some time to talk about this, the clarity of mind. And finally, objectivity, being objective, not biased. Okay, you could be very calm and very focused, but if you have some prior bias, then you will still derive the wrong conclusion or develop the wrong solution. So objectivity is also important. All right, so let's look at all of this one by one. Being present first. So just from these words, being present, 心在当下, being present or living the present moment. Now, Shifu want to stress that let's not look at it as a cool concept. Let's look at it as a practice. So we're going to do some practice. Let us practice being present, starting from very simple exercises. So let us pay attention. Let us just observe your breath. Breathe slowly. Now, of course, we breathe all the time. What makes this a being present practice? Well, when you breathe, now, you simply breathe. You don't think about something from yesterday. You don't think about what Shifu is going to say next. You just feel, sense the air gathering, going through your nostrils, going in, going into your lungs, and maybe even deeper into your lower body. The key is that each second, your mind is aware of the new sensation from breathing. So every moment, the act of breathing changes ever so slightly, right? So every moment, every second, your mind is fully open to receiving what your nose, what your lung, what your body is telling you, what kind of information is sending to you as you breathe. Not that much information, admittedly, but still, be mindful. So breathing in, you're not thinking about anything else. You don't even have to pay attention to what I'm saying now. Just every moment, feel the air. Feel your body. Feel the subtle movements in your body as you breathe. Now, this is a practice in being present because we breathe all the time, but we never pay attention to the breathing. And it is useful sometimes throughout the day to take 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes to just stop what you're doing and just get in touch with your own body. Get in touch with your breathing. And you know what? When you do that, you calm down, don't you? When you simply breathe, you calm down a bit. You calm down quite a bit. Now that's important, because if you're busy all the time, if you're worrying all the time, you find it very difficult to be calm. But now you know, simply just pay attention to your breathing, which is always there. It's waiting for you to pay attention. You just stop, pay attention to your breathing for 3 minutes, you calm down. And some of that agitation, some of that frustration maybe already went away. Maybe not all, but maybe some. Okay? So we breathe. Now let us do another practice. Let's rub our hands together slowly. Try not to make a sound, but use a little bit of force. Not too fast, not like this. Try to do it slowly. Why slowly? Because so you can be present and feel your fingers every moment. Use a little bit of force so that when you rub it a few times, it begins to feel warm. Feel that your hands go from being cold to being warm. And when it's warm, cover your eyes. As you move your hands to cover your eyes, still remain present in the present moment. Now it's a different sensation from a few moments ago. Now you're feeling a little bit of that warmth on your eyeballs, through your eyelids. We do this after we do a sitting meditation. So the sitting meditation is not the end of practice of mindfulness. When Shifu says, Calm is the end of the meditation, you rub your hands, you cover your eyes, you can still practice mindfulness, being present. Being present. Now if you, at the end of meditation, you're just going through the motions, right? Oh, because Shifu said we should do this. Okay, we'll do this. But your mind is elsewhere, right? So we do it slowly, feeling the sensations and feeling the different sensations as you cover your eyes. Okay, now let's rub our ears. That also helps after a meditation. When we meditate, often the legs get numb. Now there's a lot of nerves in your ears. A Chinese doctor would know all the different pressure points and how they condition your body. But anyway, Shifu don't know this, but you just rub your ears and it stimulates the nerves, can help your legs come back to its own full flexibility quickly. But just feeling the sensation. Being present as a practice of being present, feeling the sensations each moment. You're not thinking, you're just getting used to listening to your body again. Now let us close your eyes and feel your neck. Feel your neck. Does your neck feel perfectly fine, or do you feel a little bit of discomfort or stiffness or pain in your neck? I would guess that many of you do, since we are so used to working hard or playing games hard, looking at our cell phone hard. Anyway, so we may have developed the habit of improper posture and not pay attention to what our neck is telling us. So let us listen to our neck. What is it telling you something? Does one part of your neck is telling you, oh, I'm hurting, I'm tired. It's amazing that you didn't notice that, right? Until now. If not, good for you. If you do feel something, a small part, front or back or left or right of your neck, feeling uncomfortable, feeling stiff, then you want to do something about it. Maybe give it a massage, maybe check your posture when you work or when you read, do something, maybe stretching. Yeah, so being present, beginning to listen, and feel your shoulders. Feel your shoulders. Being present, feel your shoulders. Are your shoulders okay? Do they feel fine? Or do they feel stiff? Maybe in your left shoulder, maybe in your right shoulder, maybe in the front, maybe in the back, maybe a patch of your muscle on your shoulder has been complaining to you all this time. But you haven't noticed. You haven't paid attention. You consciously ignored it until now. And so 5 years, 10 years down the road, you're going to have a more serious problem, right? So it is good that you feel something here, somewhere uncomfortable, because now you can do something about it. You can massage it every day, or go to a chiropractor, or do some stretching, do some tai chi, do some yoga, do something. And then breathe again. So close your eyes, but you're breathing again. Breathing, being present with your breath. Now try to sense the air, the breath, along with your neck and your shoulders. You see that your neck and your shoulders are actually shifting a little bit, yeah? When you breathe. It's actually shifting as you breathe. Maybe you didn't notice that before, but it's obvious now. Okay? So these are very simple exercises to practice being present. Now open your eyes and breathe and feel your neck and shoulders. Why? Because when you open your eyes, there's more distraction. There are people and things to look at. You're more likely to not be present anymore. You're more likely to think about something. So Shifu wants you to practice, open your eyes, breathe, but try to maintain the same level of focus. Aware of your breathing, aware of your neck, aware of your shoulders. And let us sit up straight. A little bit more straight, yeah. Just not stiff, but straight. Feel the difference? I was sitting like this, and now I'm sitting like this. Try to feel the difference in your body. What happens when you're sitting like this and when you're sitting like this? Do you feel something different? Your spine is feeling different. When we sit like this, try it. For 30 seconds, as low as you can. For dramatic effect, for 30 seconds. You feel the strain on your spine, don't you? You do. A lot of times we ignore that your spine is complaining. I did that for the first 30 years of my life. So those of you who are very young, lucky for you. Listen to your body. It's telling you all kinds of things. It's begging for attention, right kind of attention, not the wrong kind of attention. What's the wrong kind of attention? Another ice cream, another donut. That is what your tongue is telling you, not the rest of the body. You got to be fair. Pay attention to the rest of your body as well. Of course, pay attention to your tongue, but don't let it control the rest of your body. So it helps to close your eyes and practice these simple exercises to be present. But then you also want to practice opening your eyes where there's more information, more outside information coming in, still able to focus on what you want to focus on. For example, listen to the sound. Still going. It's a beautiful sound. And it goes on and on and on. And that's like everything happening in our life. Things happen and things pass. But actually, it goes on. The influence goes on and on and on and on. But maybe we don't pay attention to it anymore. Yeah? You have a fight with your wife. She complains about something. You deal with it. You guys make up. And it's over. But actually, it's not resolved. Yeah? So something, if you don't pay more attention to how each other is feeling deeper inside, then maybe these small accumulate and become a bigger issue and blow up one day. Yeah? So pay attention. Yeah. All right. So you don't have to sit up very stiff. Okay. Get a sense of, when Shifu say sit up straight, get a sense of balanced posture. What is a balanced posture? It's what we teach you when we teach you the posture to meditate. When we say, okay, move your head. So it's leaning against the back collar of your shirt, if you have a shirt. So move your head a little bit, not like this. What happens when your head is like this? When you're looking at your cell phone like for half an hour? Not having just 1 minute. You already begin to feel the great strain on your neck, right? But then because this is so attractive, you watch it for half an hour and you ignore this. But your body is hurting, right? So move your head back and forth until you feel it's centered. You feel that your spine is supporting your head perfectly with minimal pressure. Here, there's a lot of pressure here. If you sit like this, there's a lot of pressure here and here. But if you center it, if you just move around, try to center it, eventually pay attention, eventually you will find a point that's dead center. That's when your spine, your neck is supporting your head perfectly with minimal pressure. So that's part of it. Shoulder, relax your shoulders. Yeah? And you don't want to sit up very stiff, like military training. You don't want to sit up like this too loose. But there's a center. There's a center where your spine is supporting the upper body, the weight of the upper body and your big head. our big head. Everybody has, our head is pretty heavy. So in our head and the upper body, perfectly. Find that. Shifu cannot tell you. I can only tell you the principle, but you have to move around, back and forth, pay attention, being present, and find that good posture. And try to sit with that posture. That takes practice, and you develop a better posture over time. It takes time, okay? Be patient, all right? So that's just some of the benefits of being present. Now, when you get a sense of balanced posture, that will be an example of your body helping your mind. Your body helping your mind. Because when your body is comfortable, your mind is less emotional. It can be easy. It's easier for your mind to relax. When we will pay attention to our breathing, when we're just simply being present and paying attention to our breathing, our mind, what kind of state our mind is in? Because of course it takes mind to pay attention, right? So when our mind is being present and paying attention, just simply receiving the sensory information, what is the state of the mind? It's the state of knowing. It's a state of knowing, not judging, not knowing. Okay? When we become aware of our neck and the neck is hurting, and you say, oh no, my neck is hurting. What am I gonna do? That's the consciousness mind taking over. There's a knowing and there's consciousness. The mind always starts with knowing, receiving information without judgment, just simply taking in the information. And then the conscious mind, the conceptual mind, the judgmental mind, the discriminating mind, the biased mind, jump in and take over. Because we need a conscious mind to deal with situation, to think about it, to analyze, but sometimes we have bias. So then we complain. If we develop the habit of complaining, oh no, it's terrible, I need to take a pill, I need to do something, what am I gonna do? I'm worried. Well, that's kind of a negative emotion is coming up, right? But when you're just noticing that discomfort, that patch of discomfort here, maybe here, maybe here, maybe here, that's still okay. Your mind is still calm. Your mind is still calm. So we want to maintain that calmness and not like the negative aspect of a consciousness jumping and take over too fast. That's the key. Okay? So that was part of the awareness of the body. But that's not the only way to practice being present. We need to practice being present in many, many situations. For example, let's start with simple conversations. For example, the simplest conversation. How are you doing? I'm fine. We say that all the time. But a lot of time, both parties are not really paying attention. One of my Shifu came to United States when I was a teenager, 9th grade in high school. One of my first experience here was walking in the hallway in the school. A classmate walked past, hey, how you doing? So I was trying to answer. He already passed. He wasn't waiting for my answer. So I was a little bit confused. So simply listening. Let's go back to the basics, just learning to listen with 100% of your attention when you talk to somebody, especially people close to you. Your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your child, your parent, your good friend, your boss, your coworker, because you see them all the time. we think we know what they're trying to say. We think we know what they want to say. And then you miss the changes in them. You miss the subtle hints. You miss the emotional fluctuations that they're going through. You miss the little upset they had with you because something you said or did. Because we're not 100% paying attention, so learn to listen 100% with your attention. The first time I felt somebody was listening to me 100% was when I first met the Grandmaster, Master Wei Jie. Well, we had a chance, a few of us, we had a chance to sit at a table with the Master, and we didn't know anything about meditation, so we asked the Master how to practice breath counting. So the Master explained to us slowly with great detail. Every sentence was very spoken mindfully, and he was paying full attention to our reactions. If anybody seemed puzzled, he will explain again. So that it took like half an hour to explain something simple like breath counting, meditation. But we are total new beginners to meditation. So the Master that's something I discovered. The Master always pay 100% attention to the person he's talking to. And I realized I did not have that experience before. Somebody giving me so much attention to what I'm saying, what I'm asking, what my reaction is. So when you do that, the other person will sense the difference. And you will begin to learn more about that person who's important to you. Okay? All right, so that's being present. Next, quality of mindfulness is calmness. Let's look at calmness a little bit more. How do we stay calm? Especially when something surprising come up, some bad news come up, maybe some good news come up. Well, one way to stay calm is that you do not react immediately. Breathe first. Take 3 breaths, maybe 3 deep breaths. Being present. And then taking the situation. Just a little bit of break before you immediately react could make a difference, could make a big difference, can bring you to a greater level of calmness. If something is agitating you, try to wait a few minutes at least to settle your thought. Wait a few minutes. Maybe even wait till the next day. So, but at least wait a few minutes before you say something. It's okay to not react immediately. It is okay to react when you have a calm mind. Another thing you can do is slow down when you talk. When you slow down as you talk, you are more calm, and then you can avoid saying things that you regret. They just come out too fast. You do that, right? We do that. Sometimes we do that. We have an immediate reaction. We say something, As soon as the words are out of your mouth, you regret, but it's too late. It's too late already. It's already out. Count the breath. You sit there, count. Breathe in, breathe out, 1. Breathe in, breathe out, 2. Count to 5, count to 10 breaths. That's another way. Observe the breathing, like we practice. That's another way. The point is, you bring your mind back to the present, but the present knowing mind, not the present conscious mind, not the present judgmental mind, not the present discriminating mind, not the present reactive mind, but the present knowing mind. Knowing, just simply let the information sink in. Let the words they say sink in. You pay attention, you observe, but you let it sink in. You breathe, you slow down as you speak. These are some of the ways to remain calm. Recently, Shifu went to the dentist. My dentist happened to be a Buddhist also. So when she's working on my teeth, you know how it is. It hurts, right? Sometimes it hurts. So when it hurts, your body naturally reacts by tensing up. But when your muscles around your teeth tense up, it makes it harder for the dentist to work on it. So my dentist said, focus on the breath. Relax your shoulders. Breathe, focus on. It's funny because I've been telling people all my life. And now somebody's telling me, which just goes to show that you can think that you are an expert at something, but there's always a part that you missed, a part that you overlooked, right? So when Shifu sees the dentist, I forget to focus on the breath. So focus on the breath is something that works across fields. When your boss is giving you a hard time, yeah? When you go see your dentist, when your kids are making a big mess in the room, or when you make a big mess, focus on the breath. All right, so calmness is also a practice. It's also a practice. So let us look at how we can practice calmness and concentration. Now, there's a technical word in Buddhism called shamatha. That's Sanskrit, or samatha in Pali. That means concentration, which brings about a still mind, a calm, focused, still mind. Some of the simple ways to practice that is, we already talked about. Take a deep breath. Take deep breaths. Take a few deep breaths. Count the breath. Count your breath. So the breath counting meditation, you sit up in a balanced posture. You just focus on your breath like we practiced. And as you breathe in, as you breathe out, you count 1 silently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in, breathe out, you count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you do that for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, even 30 minutes, 40 minutes. That is a meditation because you're in the present, you're focused, your mind is not judging, you are calm. That is the meditation. That is the mindfulness training. You can also, instead of counting, you can just observe the breath like we just practiced. But you practice that for 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes. That is also a meditation practice. Let's move on to the next quality of mind, of mindfulness, which is clarity. Clarity is a very crucial aspect of mindfulness. So what is clarity of mind? Well, let's first think about what is not mental clarity. Well, when we are agitated, when we are angry, when we are upset, when we're nervous, anxious, frustrated, when we are very emotional, chances are 99% of the time you are not having clarity of mind because the emotions just take over. If the emotion take over, then we lose mental clarity. Okay? Of course, emotions are useful, but don't let it take over all the time. Don't let it take over frequently. Yeah? Another state of not having mental clarity is when somebody talk endlessly. You know people like that? Maybe we are one of those persons. It's easy when you keep on talking, you're just venting some emotion, some unhappiness or dissatisfaction inside. And just keep going. That's a way of venting, which could be useful, but it's kind of hard on the other person, Yeah? When we talk endlessly. So the first step in achieving mental clarity is stop talking. Simple. Stop talking. Of course, we need to talk, but when you want to have mental clarity, stop talking. And let the mind settle for a while. Second thing, observe. Observe quietly. Now, observation, the power of observation in all of us, we're born with it. The power of observation is so great, is so amazing that we've forgotten about it. If you look at babies, when all mothers or all parents will know, right? Babies, when they're born, they are so observant. They learn so much within 1, 2, 3 years. Yeah? They pick up language just like that. Some people say Chinese is the hardest language to learn, but every Chinese kid pick it up without teaching. So it can't be that hard. And I know Shifu had a high school friend who spoke 3 languages. Father was Polish, mother was Spanish. They grew up in America, so they speak 3 languages at home. And they just interchange back and forth. I said, don't you guys get confused? He said, no. They look at me as if that was an odd question, right? So apparently when kids grow up in a multilingual environment, they just pick it up naturally. Yes? So kids, and they imitate their parents. They pick up mannerisms, behaviors, personality from their parents. Okay, so we are born with this power of amazing power of observation. But as we grow up, our mind gets dominated by the conscious part of our mind, the judging, this analyzing, thinking, rational, emotional, that part of our mind. And the amazing observation, which is the knowing part of our mind, we begin to pay less attention to it. So observe quietly the situation get back to that power of observation. You didn't lose it when you grow up. You just put it behind and thinking that, my brain is more important. Listen patiently. Listen patiently. So Shifu earlier talked about listen with 100%. But let's explore this a little more because this is so important. Listen 100%. Begin with listen patiently. That means don't break other people's sentences. Don't jump in. Okay? Sometimes we do that. Don't cut off. Just let them finish. Not only let them finish, but also think about what they're saying. Okay? Try to not just understand the words that they said, the meaning of the sentence, but also try to understand their concerns. What's their concern behind the sentence? Try to understand their intention for speaking to you. Because sometimes a person may not be able to or may not want to express what they want to convey to you. They may not want to say everything for various reasons. So if a good listener will learn to try to understand what is a deeper concern that they have. Try to understand their emotions as well. Often there's an emotion associated when they talk to you. If so, try to empathize with their emotions. Also, another thing to remember is pay attention to words that people say to you repeatedly. Like, today, your kid tell you something. Next week, he tells you the same thing. Third week, he tells you the same thing. Or maybe what your teacher tell you. This week, next week. Things that people you're familiar with keep telling you the same thing over and over on many occasions. Why do they tell you over and over? Because you didn't listen. You didn't understand what they try to convey to you. I'm not saying you have to agree, but you have not understood. Most likely you have not understood what their concern is, why they are unhappy, why they keep telling you this. That is something you want to reflect, think about deeply. That's part of listening, the art of listening. Let's go back a little bit. There's a beautiful song when I was growing up. There's 2 lines of lyrics. Let's see if anybody recognizes that. People talking without speaking. People hearing without listening. Yeah? What is that song? Huh? Who knows the title of the song? Sounds of Silence. Simon and Garfunkel, right? Classic. People talking without speaking. Do you find that? People talk across each other. They just talk and talk, but they're not really saying much. People talking without speaking. They're not saying anything meaningful. They just talk. They just have a need to talk. Sometimes we do that. Okay, I'm not saying don't ever do that. Sometimes we need to do that, but we need to be aware if we are wasting time or wasting our life doing these talking without saying anything meaningful. Yeah? People talking without speaking. People hearing without listening. Does that happen? Yes, happens all the time. Especially with people who are close to each other, yeah? You never listen to me. You don't understand me. You ignore me. Well, it's because you think you heard them, but you didn't really listen. We didn't really listen. And that can start as a small conflict or small disagreement. But then if that is not resolved, this will happen again and again, creating bigger frustration, bigger dissatisfaction, and then maybe even bigger misunderstanding. And then eventually it can break up a relationship or break up a important alliance. So hearing without listening, when do we do that? We need to be aware of it, okay? So try to understand their concerns. Try to understand, first of all, correctly understand what they're trying to say. If you're not sure, talk without emotion, talk. Try to fully, actually, correctly understand what they're saying. Because each person express words in a different way. We have different habits of expressing things. And we think that we express it perfectly clear. But maybe we express it in a way that other people don't understand or not used to. So they misunderstand, okay? A lot of times people misunderstand each other without any ill meaning, without any ill intention, bad intention, but then they wind up hurting each other because of that. So correctly understand what they're trying to say and ask and communicate if you're not sure. And going deeper, trying to understand their concerns and their emotions, okay? So clarity practice, how do we practice clarity? That is also a technical term in Buddhism called vipassana or vipassana. That is the training of observation and contemplation. But today we'll focus on observation. So we already talked about, we practiced a little bit of the awareness of the breath, awareness of your neck and shoulder. Now, obviously, you can expand this to the whole body. So you sit here. Let's do that for 3 minutes. So sit up in a balanced posture. Becoming aware of your scalp, the top of your head. Become aware of the top of your head. Feel the skin, the pores of your hair. Feel the hair. Being present. Being present. Every moment, your mind is fresh, focused. Now move slowly down to your eyes. Feel your forehead and then your eyes. Are your eyes tired or comfortable? Do you feel some stress in your eyes? Do you feel some muscle that support your eyeball are stiff? Get in touch with the state of your eyes. If we look at our cell phone or computers or watch a movie for half an hour, and if you stop it and be present, be mindful of your eyes, you will find that your eyes are tired. Next time, try that. Your eyes are actually hurting, tired, stressed. And then we move down slowly to our cheeks, to our nose. Feel. It's very subtle. You don't normally feel your skin when nothing is touching it, but try to feel it. Your nose, your cheeks, your lips. Use your tongue to lick your teeth inside a little bit. Feel your tongue circling around your teeth. Slowly. Feel the contour of your teeth with your tongue. You know that your teeth are part of your skull, part of the skeleton. Move down slowly to your neck and to your shoulders. When you get to your shoulders, you have a choice. You can go down your right arm, for example. You pay attention to your right arm. As you moving your awareness of your body, if you notice any part of the body that's tense or stiff, try to relax it. Try to adjust it a little bit. Try to shift it a little bit. Try to relax it. Move down to your right arm, upper arm, your elbow, your lower arm, your thumb, the fingernails of your thumb, your index finger, every segment of the 3 segments of your index finger, your middle finger, the fingernail. So this way you go through every finger and you go back up and go down your left arm slowly, and then you come back to your chest, go down slowly to your abdomen. Not so fast. Shifu just telling you the procedure. Okay? So let's stop the practice for now. We're running out of time, so we need to move a little bit faster. So this is the practice called mindfulness of the body. Mindfulness of the body. Before, at the Zen Center, Shifu have taught you counting the breath, mindfulness of the breath, walking meditation. These are all different practices in the category of mindfulness of the body. Shifu will explain more methods of mindfulness of the body and mindfulness of feeling, mindfulness of thought, mindfulness of phenomena in the future. So today we just introduce mindfulness of the whole body, the awareness of the whole body. So you start from your scalp, for example, you go slowly down, scan through your whole body to your toenails. You may go back and come up the back, all right? Go back to the scalp. If you do it slowly and mindfully, it may take half an hour or maybe even longer. That becomes one meditation session, okay? So that is a way to begin your clarity practice. You develop this awareness and you receive more information that you did not know that your body is telling you. It's better often to practice this deeper observation of your own body first, because this is more substantial, more solid, before we move on to the mindfulness of feeling, which is more fleeting, mindfulness of the mind. Okay, last quality that we want to talk about mindfulness is objectivity. So actually, we won't say too much about it. You understand what objectivity is. It means we don't want to be biased. And that involves our view, our perception, how we see things. You know, is there somebody in your life that whenever you think about that person, you say, oh, I hate that person. I don't like him. Yeah. What does that mean? That means you have formed a fixed perception of that person. And you also develop a habit of getting emotional or reactive when you think about that person. So there's two parts. One, the perception. You think that person is a bad person or despicable or unlikable or bully or whatever. So you have formed that understanding, that view of that person. All right? And then, because every time you think about a person, you have that view, you gradually develop emotional attachment. So that you get emotional. Terrible person. Get away from me. Right? So the habit comes from the perception. Our unmindfulness, our frustration, our fear, anxiety also is developed in the same way. We first have a false view, a false perception. Oh, uncertainty is bad. Bad news is bad. Something terrible is bad. That perception. But that's already a biased, not objective perception because a bad thing something good can come out of the bad thing, right? You know that already. You know that. But we ignore it. We still look at bad things as bad things. Yeah? So if something happens, no matter what happens, good or bad, if you can look at it, you can find a different perspective and change your habit, then you can learn to deal with it with calmness and clarity. So everything we talked about today is helping you to shift your perspective and put it into practice. Okay? Let us give some examples. So next, we will look at mindfulness practice, combining all four aspects. What are the four aspects? What's the first aspect? First quality of mindfulness? Being present. Second? Calmness. Third? Clarity. Objective. Very good. So mindfulness of body, the practice that Shifu just described, combines all four of this. When you look at your body, don't think, oh, I'm fat. Or, oh, no, I have another wrinkle. That's the consciousness part jumping in, okay? Or you become aware of your face. Oh, I'm ugly. I wish I were beautiful. No. It is what it is. It is amazing as it is. So just observe, sense, feel, okay? All right, so mindfulness of body, what already talked about. Now, let's practice applying mindfulness as we understand now to the uncertainties in life. Remember the three aspects of uncertainty. Impermanence. Don't cheat. Impermanence, incomplete control, and interdependence, right? Let us look at them one by one. Mindful examination of the impermanent aspect of our life. So impermanence, things change. Yeah, we grow old. Our body gradually do not function as well as we would like it to be. Relationships go further and further apart, or maybe, gets too sticky, or You begin to dislike your job, it becomes boring, or things happen, impermanence. So how can we remain calm, clear, and objective when we face impermanence? Well, calmness. How can we face calmness? Well, the reason we are not calm when some impermanent thing hits, for example, your partner break up with you, your spouse wants a divorce, a close relative pass away, you lose your job. That's kind of hard. Let's take something easier. Like, oh, I found another wrinkle. But the principle is the same. We start with smaller issues and gradually develop power to deal with bigger issues. So calmness, we are not calm, we get emotional because we cling to what was before. We don't want this to happen. Oh, I wish this didn't happen, right? That is called not accepting impermanence, not accepting the fact of life. Things happen, it happened, it already happened, you have to accept it. So not clinging means let it go, let it pass. If it already passed, you have no choice, really. You have no choice, you just have to let it go. Before it passes, for example, there are schism in your relationship. You have a fight with your parent, with your mother or father, and it's getting bigger. You can still try to fix it using the principles we talked about today, starting with you. No? Don't go home and say, Mom, I know why we have a problem because you're not mindful. Shifu said, you should be calm and clear. You're not calm. No. That's not that's not how you solve a problem. Begin with yourself, regardless of what other people are or are not. It doesn't matter if they are mindful or not. It does matter whether you are mindful or not. You begin with yourself. So you practice clarity, mindfulness, being present, being calm. Okay? So let us think about some small impermanence that you don't like. Oh, I'm gaining weight, or I'm losing weight, or I'm getting a wrinkle, or I'm walking slower than before. I can't exercise. I can't play ball like I used to. I catch flu more easily. Impermanence. My eyesight or my hearing is not as good as before. Cleaning. If you get emotional because of it, it means you wish it wasn't like that. You wish you were like 10 years ago, 5 years ago. But that's not gonna happen, right? It's past. Accept it. It's the first step to remaining calm. Of course, it's hard. So that's why Shifu talk about impermanence. We have to have a deeper understanding of impermanence. We have to understand that tomorrow I can die, or next breath I can drop. So understanding that any smaller impermanence is a blessing. It's actually a blessing. Oh, I'm still alive. I've been talking for an hour and a half, and I'm still alive. That is a blessing. And you still have sound mind. That is a blessing. Okay. So, not clinging. Clarity, acceptance. Already talked about that. We have to learn to acceptance doesn't mean that we give up. That's totally different. Okay? Being able to accept what already happened is the first step in being able to do something about it. As long as we're trapped in this denial, oh, I wish this didn't happen. As long as we're trapped in our emotional response, we're not doing anything to change the situation. We're just prolonging our suffering. Okay? We have to see that. When somebody important to you pass away, you're sad, of course. Maybe a month later, 6 months later, 2 years later, you are no longer sad, you go on with your life, right? Why? Because you accepted it. Because you have accepted it. So why don't you accept it now? You could, with practice. It doesn't mean that you love that person any less. It means that you are able to face reality and move on. Being present is also about moving on. Moving on to the next moment. Moving on to the next moment. So, objectivity. Oh, I lost something. I lost the wallet. Okay, that may not be a bad thing. I have a wrinkle. Well, that may not be a bad thing. Other women are saying, oh, Shifu, you don't understand. No, I'm being stereotyping, right? Other men are saying that too. What I mean is, for example, when you find a new wrinkle, there are positive things you can do, right? You can learn ways. Maybe there's a way to massage it. Yeah, maybe there's a way to I don't know. No, there is a way. Maybe it's a signal that you are not exercising, or maybe you're exercising too much. Do you have the right balance of stillness, meditation, and exercise? Yeah? Don't exercise too much, but exercise enough. Maybe you can get your skin tone back to a better state before it gets worse, right? So this kind of thing. Maybe you can meditate more, and then you find out, oh, there are more important things than my physical appearance, right? Of course, physical appearance is important, but when you have more spiritual wisdom inside, then people will find, oh, a lot of wrinkle means you're very wise. Maybe a good thing. Okay, next example. So we're just giving some examples, right? You can apply the principle to your own situation. Next, let's finish in 4 minutes. 5 minutes. So next example, mindful examination of incomplete control. Calmness, breathe. Clarity, examine conditions you can influence, right? Nothing in life you have complete control, but usually you do have some control, partial control, meaning you can influence to some degree. So clear observation of the situation, figure out what are the factors, variables, conditions you can affect. You can exert some energy, you can change, you can convince, you can talk to people, you can do something differently, you can try different things, work on the things you can change, and don't get caught emotionally in the things you cannot change. So that is clarity. Being present, instead of focusing your energy on what happened, let's move on to what can I do now? Being present here means what can I do now? Okay? If what I did before didn't work, like you tell your kid, clean up your room. You told him 3 years and he doesn't clean up his room. It's not the kid's fault. I mean, it may be the kid's fault too. I don't know. But you cannot change that. You cannot change the fact that you tell him clean up your room, he doesn't. It doesn't work. So focus on what else can I say? What else can I do? How can I communicate in a different way so that he be more willing to clean up his room. Yeah? Focus on what you can change. All right? Inflation. Everybody's facing inflation today. So use your mind. First of all, stay calm because it's happening. And we don't know when it's going to end, right? No matter what the president says, we actually don't know when it's going to end. It could go on until next year. We don't know. So what are you going to do? What can you do? What can you do? Think about it. You have that wisdom. Okay, mindful examination of interdependence. Again, I'm just going to go through this very quickly. Calmness, observe. When you just observe using the knowing part of your mind, observe the situation, observe the relationships, observe who gave us what I have today. What gave us my life today? What gave us my food? What gave us my gasoline? What gave us the electricity? Who in the world helped me be here today? Understand the interdependent relationship in your company, at work. Understand the dynamics between your boss and your coworker, your management, and the employees. Try to understand the dynamics better, the interdependence better. Understand where your boss is coming from. Understand where your coworker, why your coworker. Try to observe why your coworker is so emotional. Observe. Understand where they're coming from without judgment, but with understanding. Seeing both their superior qualities as well as their faults, not with the mind to judge, but with the mind to understand to how to cope, deal with that person. Okay, so interdependence is crucial. And objectivity here means cause and effect. You understand what lead to what result. Seeing the causal relationship. Understanding we are part of a dynamic web of influences, effects. Okay, this karma network. We're in this together. All right, next. So these examples, you can try to take something specific, a specific situation you face, and then see how you can apply what Shifu talked about today, one by one, point by point, to help you analyze and change your perception and change your behavior, okay? All right, just quickly, another practice of mindfulness that combines all four qualities of mindfulness is mindfulness of feeling. But Shifu won't say very much. It's just simply the key thing is to observe your feelings as if you're an outsider. As if you're somebody else looking at yourself. See, everybody look at you and they see your emotions. But we rarely look at our own selves. So try to step outside and look at yourself, look at your own emotions as you come up and down. Don't judge. Let's say you're pretty upset right now. And as a good Buddhist, you say, oh, I shouldn't be upset. I should be tolerant. I should be forgiving, but I'm not. I'm a bad person. No. Don't judge. Just see that upset emotion, that emotion there. Just see it. But don't act on it. Don't feel it. The problem is not when you have these emotions, it's when you act on it and you add fuel. You keep magnifying it, you keep continuing it, but just observe. Simply observing your own emotion as it comes up, whether it's a negative or positive emotion, help you distance it. When you distance that, you become calmer. These emotions, because they are impermanent. Impermanence work for you now. Because they are impermanent, they will go away if you don't do anything about it, if you distance yourself from it. So mindfulness of feeling is a powerful meditation practice. Shifu will give a lecture on that later. Okay, finally, Last slide, I promise. Well, second to the last. Mindful review of important things we talked about today. Let's close our eyes and as Shifu review with you. First of all, we're talking about uncertainties in life. Now we know that it is a fact. It's not gonna go away. It happens to everybody. So let's learn to accept it and move on or deal with it. So we first want to understand the problem. The problem or what causes uncertainty because of impermanence, interdependence. What does that word mean? Impermanence, reflect on it. Interdependence, incomplete control, which is okay. It's okay to have incomplete control. It's perfectly okay. That's life. And we can deal with it by practicing mindfulness in these situations. The qualities of mindfulness is being present. So we talked about how to practice being present, starting with the simplest way, which is being mindful of your body, being mindful of your breath. Now you want to do this practice. You can do it for 3 minutes, perfectly fine. 1 minute, fine. 10 minutes, better. 30 minutes, awesome. But do practice this a few times a day. Short or longer times are okay, but get used to being present. Get used to being aware of your whole body. All right? And applying mindfulness to situations in the analysis that Shifu gave example of, or whatever you want to do, however you want to use what we talked about today in your own situation. And it's important to, one, not just deal with the situation, but also when there is no situation, develop this mindfulness as a daily practice. Okay? So that concludes our talk today. Let us have some time for questions. Are there any questions from the audience present?
If you have a question, thank you. I was going to say, go ahead and raise your hand and I'll come by. Bear with me, I just have one microphone.
Shifu, 你好. You mentioned about like being, when you say, if we could think of one person we dislike and immediately we have one and then we become emotional. So what do we do on a daily basis to help view that person in a better light so then we're better emotionally, just calm? Like maybe try to think of something that the person did that's good, but it's hard.
There are a few things you can do. One is to find a time in your daily life to be alone. If it's somebody you live with, right? You do need your personal space. So do arrange your life so that you do have a period of time where you can be alone. And within that time alone, you have time to practice mindfulness as we talked about before. So it begins with strengthening your own abilities to be calm and clear, okay? Start with developing your own abilities. That's a crucial aspect of the daily practice. Second, let's not deal with a very difficult situation or difficult person first. Let's start dealing with easier cases first. But if it's somebody you see on a daily basis and it's always getting on your nerves, here's one thing you can do. Try to be grateful to that person. Think of the ways that that person helped you, are good for you, good to you, are beneficial to you. Think of the good qualities of that person. Okay, don't just focus. Obviously, everybody's complicated, and you rarely find almost nobody finds a person that's perfect in every way, right? So accept that, but focus more on the good part of that person. So for example, if you sense you're having an argument with that person, if the person says something that annoys you frequently, try to listen to what he says. So we talked about this, listen. If he says something annoying to you all the time, repeatedly to you, maybe you're not listening to what that person's true concern is. So instead of argue on what that person is saying repeatedly to no effect, try to calm down, not argue, and just listen. Listen and try to think about what is he or she really trying to say to me? Is there some concern that I ignore? A lot of times we ignore. We love somebody, we care about somebody, but we don't understand their true concerns. So there's a slide that I missed, which is people talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people loving without caring. A lot of times we love a person, but we don't actually know how to care about that person. Why? Because we don't understand what is important to them, what their concern is. It takes a lot of observation to understand their inner concerns. Yeah? A lot of times we don't understand why some people love to buy flowers, cost so much money, and they wither in a few days. Because your concern is the money, but that's not a real concern for that person, right? Maybe another person doesn't understand why you like speedy cars. Yeah, it's dangerous. So your concern is his safety. But what is his concern? Do you understand his concern? I'm not saying this is a good or a bad thing. I'm just saying, do you try to understand his concern and his needs, or her concern and her needs? That takes a lot of practice and maybe a lot of communication. So when somebody says something repeatedly to you, even if it annoys you a lot, try to calm down and say, let me think about this. And you try to understand the concern, okay? That's a start. Any other questions?
Shifu, we have a question on Dory. Would you like to read from there?
Okay. I see a few questions here. Shifu, besides deleting social media apps and checking email less frequently, how to minimize the distraction in this digital world? Thank you. How to minimize the distraction? You do face maybe 10 times as much distraction as when we were growing up. So again, the same principle applies. Find time to be alone with yourself. Shut off information, meaning that not look at your cell phone, not look at the whatever sources. Just meditate, practice awareness, take a walk, let your mind settle. These things where you appear to be doing nothing is actually crucial for your mental health. It's actually crucial for your mental stability and growth. It's like you cannot eat every day, even though food is nutritious. You don't eat all the time, right? You gotta eat and stop eating so that your body has a chance to absorb the nutrients, spread it across your body, and take out the junk, take out the garbage, right? In the same way, your mind gets fed information. It needs time to settle, sort out, throw away the garbage information, keep the useful information. That's the practice of calmness and clarity. Calmness gives your mind a chance to settle and digest to a point. Clarity contemplation, reflection is what sort out the garbage and keep the useful things. It's what develops insight and wisdom. Okay? So time alone, not taking in information, just get used to being by yourself. I'm not saying you should do what Shifu did, just be alone for 3 years. It's not for everybody, but that was great, by the way. But yeah, at least, Shifu suggests that, those of you working people, if you can, take a month every year off, or at least 3 weeks or 2 weeks off alone. Arrange a deal with your spouse. Just being alone in a cabin somewhere in the forest. Don't even bring a book, but bring a journal, bring a notebook. And just live with yourself and just let your mind settle, and you will learn so much more about your inner world, as opposed to if you don't do that, okay?
Shifu, shall we alternate questions between the audience and Dory?
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Please raise your hand and I'll come by with the microphone. All right, looks like no questions at this time. Perhaps
3 years, no questions, okay.
you have taught us well, Shifu.
We'll see. Okay, another question. Shifu, how can I attain Buddhahood in this single life? Now, how can I attain Buddhahood in a single life? Now, that's an ambitious. Good. You should be ambitious in spiritual practice, but you also need to be practical. So, there's 2 aspects to this question, to answering this question. One, it is not possible to achieve the complete, ultimate Buddhahood, like becoming a Buddha in one single lifetime. It takes many lifetimes. But whatever you do in this life toward that goal is not wasted when you pass away. You will help you develop, okay? On the other hand, it is possible to gain the crucial wisdom, the crucial vision of the Buddha in one lifetime. That is called enlightenment. When somebody is enlightened, he is not necessarily a Buddha. He's not a Buddha yet. He's the Buddha who is Anuttara Samyo Sambuddhi, the perfect, unsurpassed enlightenment, okay? But the enlightenment we talk about here is you suddenly awaken to the truth of life, the truth about who you are, the truth about life and death. When you are awakened this way, you understand yourself. You understand what you are. You understand what is death and life. You understand you have the root where all true wisdom grows from. You have that root, that basis, the key insight in Buddha's awakening. That is possible. Now, we are out of time. But I will point to the 2 aspects to that enlightenment. One is to understand your knowing, the knowing aspect of your mind. Shifu have talked about this a few times today. Also, that previous talk, knowing consciousness, awareness, in mindfulness, we'll also talk about that a lot. So the knowing aspect of your mind is the key to understanding yourself, to truly understand yourself. Second part is the emptiness of the self. Emptiness of the self. Now, don't be scared of the word emptiness. It is a crucial part of enlightenment. You have to understand the emptiness of the self. which means that it doesn't mean that you don't exist. It doesn't mean that you're a figment of somebody's imagination. It means that there's no permanent, independent, totally in control person anywhere within you. You are not completely independent. There's no independence of the self. There's no permanent self. You may feel like it because, 5 years, when I was 5 years old, I did something. When I was 10 years old, 10 years, I did something. 5 years, 10 years, now I'm 40, 50, 60. It's the same me, right? You feel it's the same I. That's actually a delusion. The truth is not like that. There's that continuity from one thought to the next. But it's not the same. It's not the same, it's not different. Okay? So understanding the impermanence, the interdependence, and the lack of incomplete control, which are actually the crucial ingredients to understanding emptiness of the self. That is another part of enlightenment. So Shifu will have to explain this over several talks in the future. Okay? Let us now then conclude today's event with the dedication. Can we have the last slide? Let's pause for a moment and be grateful again to all the cause and conditions that made today possible. We are grateful to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, to all the volunteers and supporters, to all of you present, to all the people who are listening online, to all the people that provided the food and daily conveniences so that we can live our day, can stay healthy, and come here and join in this spiritual journey. Let us hope that we remember the important points of today's talk and apply it in our daily life. So let's conclude with a dedication of merits. May the merits of our deeds reach every part of the world. Sentient beings, large and small, all attend enlightenment.